Hey guys, Besant here, desperately clinging on to his youth while having all of the worldly cynicism of an elderly man reviewing albums. Today I'm listening to the 5th studio album by English indie band Mystery Jets, Curve of the Earth. Now, despite this being their 5th studio album, and I've had every opportunity to have listened to this band and got into them, including seeing them live and quite liking their very popular single, Two Doors Down, I've not really ever listened to their studio albums, so don't ask me how, it's just sort of flown me by. I suppose a positive spin on that is that I'm brand new to this band. I can't compare it to any of their older material, so I guess I'm unbiased. I suppose that's a good spin on that. This album is recorded in a former button factory in a DIY studio, and I think everyone online has picked up on that, and I think that's quite a fun story. Even their Wikipedia page has got it on there now. So anyway, let's go on with the review. Now, evidently this album's been inspired or influenced in some way, first-hand or second-hand, by Pink Floyd. It's got these large, reverberating guitar sounds and distant, non-forced, gentle vocals, and these psychedelic elements which you'd usually expect from a prog rock band, and perhaps even some vocal melodies that you might expect of the early work of Matt Bellamy from Muse, although I don't necessarily think that this frontman has the same range and power as Matt Bellamy. Apparently the bassist is a new bassist on this album, but he is absolutely the star of the show for me. I think it's got some really laid back grooves which just hold the album together really well. I really loved the continuous rhythmic element of the first track of this album on the lead guitar. It's sort of this, it's only 4 beats long and it just repeats itself pretty much with the exclusion of the middle 8 continuously throughout the track, and it's got some, on the intro it's got these like reverse panning notes, and I think that's a really cool touch. It's got these ring mod on it as well. I think it's probably ring mod sound effects, and it's got loads of effects throughout the entire album. Now there's some really big percussion sounds throughout this album, very ambitious sounding and very natural core kit for the most part, and I think that's predominant on the first track, and I think it stands in contrast to the second track, which opens with an acoustic guitar and almost sounds like an early Keane song, whereas the first song sounded a bit more like it was going the Muse direction. This has got this sort of Keane songwriting aspect to it. However, at times I think this album, despite its strong start and its sort of versatility in the first 3 or 4 tracks, almost starts to blend into one after you listen to it for more than probably about 15 minutes. Although this isn't a guitar-heavy album, some of the most interesting moments on the album are brought to you by some of the great guitar effects and poignant riffs, as well as some of the keys on this album are really poignant. I suppose one of the most interesting parts on this album, I think, is on the song Bubblegum, and it's got this sort of swelling synths with this organ key sound on the pre-chorus. I think it's fantastic. I think that's one of the points in this album that you think, yeah, they've really got this right. Although the album does seem a little ambitious, it seems more like it's kind of from the 2000s, and it seems like it's a 2000s 80s throwback, which sounds absolutely bonkers, but you'll know what I mean if you've listened to the album. And I think it just leaves you feeling a little drained by the end. There's nothing really about this album that jumps out at you, and I feel like this album will probably divide listeners, whether they think it's one of the most interesting albums they've heard or one of the most faux interesting albums they've heard. There were some really interesting lyrical choices as well. I thought this album, I think the standout track for me was probably the emotive piano song 1985. I'm going to have to say I don't think this was the right time of year to release this album for this band. It feels very much like it's a summer festival stroke spring band. I literally think I would enjoy this band more if I had first listened to it in the summer sun, kind of thing. But maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're preparing themselves for some summer festivals. I don't really have much to say about this album. I did quite enjoy it, and I think I'm going to give it a strong 7 because I highly doubt it's going to move from that position over time, and I just think that it's a very fun to listen to album, albeit a bit samey by the end. Thanks for watching, guys. thanks for making my last video one of the most watched videos on my channel yet. Over 125 views in 2 days, which is awesome. Subscribe if you don't already, and I will see you tomorrow for another album, and hopefully I can provide a little bit more insight on that album. Thank you.